the Getting Lucky Mixed Martial Arts Podcast. I am your host, Lucky Robert Curtis. I am joined by Mitchell Stuckey. Stuckey and Lucky. Say hello, Mitchell.
Hello! Woo! Woo! Fanfare. Yay.
I felt like Oprah there for a second. Say hello, Mitchell. You get a car. You get a car. You, not you, you're ugly. You get a car. You get a car.
That's racist.
Not racist if I say someone's ugly. See, that's the thing. I have a feud going on with this guy from Australia. And I said some things about Australia, and he goes, "You're a racist." I'm like, no. Because I said it about a nationality. That means I'm a nationalist. So if I say something about an ugly person, it means I'm superficial and shallow, but not a racist. I'm glad we cleared all that up. This is episode 33, and I think to our detriment, no one affiliated with the show has been beaten up by an MMA fighter yet. So I feel like we need to push it a little bit further.
Okay.
Anderson Silva, you're a pussy. And I have a Brazilian friend that'll help me translate that so that you can understand what I just said. Speaking of our Brazilian friend, happy birthday, Michel Bonito, Chagalas the Hunter.
Dude, you just went all Chael Sonnen there.
I did, didn't I? Maybe I should pick on someone else. Cody McKenzie, you're a bitch.
Yeah, someone that'll actually might possibly listen to us. That's who we need to go for.
Yeah, and, well, quite frankly, if I'm going to get beaten up by an MMA fighter, I'd rather go out in the McKenzie team flashing the double wanker sign than getting my jaw broken by Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
All right. This is also another milestone. This is the second episode with our new intro music. We've had reviews on this from our listeners.
Not good.
One person said, that intro is sick. Another person said, that intro sucks dick. So, we have a divided community. Thank you, YouTube, for forcing us into this corner where we're now rabid rats fighting and clawing our way to survival. We have to stick with this until someone comes up with a better alternative. I don't know how to do music. Mitchell, do you know how to do music?
No, I actually don't believe that you don't know how to.
I don't know how to make music.
Yeah.
I mean, other than, lyrical flatulence.
After your wonderful, wonderful Kim Winslow song.
And
Ooh.
the fuckers wouldn't even let me post that on Facebook without, decrying copyright.
Dude, Vimeo is where to go. Vimeo.
But we have, dozens of listeners on YouTube.
I'm not arguing with that. I'm just saying for your Kim Winslow one, you could link it up or something.
And we can't go to Tom because then he'll give us some sort of piano man, piano bar. You want to go where everybody knows your name. Do 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 do. He's a pianist. A pianist. Good old Tom.
Enunciating the T.
There's a T in that? I thought the plural was peni. Tom will probably join us next week as we preview the Diaz GSP extravaganza. Of course, I'm on Fitch's side, and I don't think GSP's got a problem. I don't think Diaz has a chance.
I don't think Diaz has a chance either. I'm excited for Tom to be. I didn't know he was joining us. That's exciting.
Yeah, he as part of his
time away from the show.
Severance package. Thank you. Quick with that, Robert Curtis. As part of his severance package for being let go, he insisted on coming back for every time Nick Diaz fights.
Ooh, why Nick Diaz?
Because he said there can't be two haters talking about a Diaz fight because he is the holy grail to all things badass.
Oh, see, I don't hate Nick Diaz.
I don't either. But I'm more than happy to talk about his flaws. Nick Diaz is someone that will actually beat us up in real life, so we should talk about him.
I don't even think we need to talk about him. He'll just beat us up.
If the day happens where either Mitchell or I run across Todd Duffy, we will put pictures on the internet of what we look like.
He might actually forcibly make out with us, so I don't know if I want to...
I was thinking of tearing our hymens.
Yeah. He would forcibly do that too. That actually could get him kicked out of the UFC if he tweeted about that, because that's rape. Well, for me it'd be rape, but for you I can't. I don't know.
I'll tell you this: my anal hymen is intact as the Hoover Dam. Not a single drop gets through. I'm just telling you, very, very firmly intact, and I'd like to keep it that way well into my 80s. At that point, I'm willing to try anything. All right, so our first segment that we'd like to do is how to fix MMA. We had quite a few ideas last time in our brainstorm of awesome. I thought there should be fan participation. For instance, a flying knee. You don't remember?
The flying knee? No, I do not.
Yabba dabba doo!
Yabba dabba doo! I really want that to catch on now.
That would be great. Or the spinning back fist miss. Wah, wah, wah. And you mentioned that you thought it'd be great if there were better education, which brought us to the idea of having statistics in the arena, like a basketball game.
I thought that was a fantastic idea.
In fact, in collegiate wrestling, they actually have ride time, which is an indicator of dominance. And once you hit a certain amount of ride time, you get points to your score. So when one guy's on top, the ticker starts going for him, and if he gets reversed, then the ticker starts going down until his ride time is down to 0, and the other guy can start building ride time. I think that would be cool to also have a statistic in the UFC where they have that. So at the end of, say, Dong Young Kim's fight, at the end of his fight, he's got 14 minutes of dominance time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you think it takes away from the other fighter? Like it decreases his time?
Right. I think it should. So, for instance, if two fighters are grappling each other, one guy has 5 minutes of dominance time, the other guy has 7 minutes of dominance time. That's plus 2 minutes to one fighter. So that's basically how it would show up.
Okay.
But I do have another one for this show. We don't skimp. We go all out. Every show, we bring it.
We're fixing MMA.
I like to do that like David Letterman. That's my little note card with my one note on there. Do not get into a fight with Todd Duffy. Oh, that's the wrong card. Here's what I think. I think there should be, when somebody runs away in stand-up, they are warned and then points are taken away, which is effectively striking, stalling. I think the same logic should be applied to walling and stalling or laying and praying. I think you can stand people up, but they know if they can just get another takedown, they get another 2 to 3 minutes of grinding it out, ride time, dominance.
I hate that it's called grinding it out. That makes me so mad. Like, that you're doing something cool and tough.
Oh, yeah, it takes heart to do what I do, to lay on a man.
Let's just call it what it is. You're aggressively hugging him. You really like that guy.
All right.
You got me.
If you're laying on a guy, not doing anything, i.e. you're Yushining him, first time you get stood up, you get warned. Don't just hold on to him. And the second time, you get a point. I think that would almost take away the inactivity of some of these top writing fighters altogether. What do you think?
If you take a point?
Yeah, if you give them warning, and the next time they basically lay there and don't try to advance or strike or meaningfully strike, you take away a point. And since all of those guys are decision fighters, that would be a huge impact.
Yeah. The thing is, you mentioned with striking, if you run away, like they have to very seriously run away for a point to be taken. Like if you're thinking, a lot of people would say that Condit ran away from Diaz, which I disagree with. But I mean, would it be insane if in that scenario a referee took a point?
It would be, because Condit was not running away. He was doing a fighting withdrawal.
Okay. So in the only instance that I could come up with off the top of my head would be the Nate Quarry Caleb Starnes fight.
Well, that fight should have been blown dead. It should have been a DQ. That was too much. Too much running away.
So give me an example where they would take a point from the striking aspect.
I'd be happy to. Well, let me give you an example where they would take a point away for the wrestling.
Oh, believe me, I can come up with thousands of fights for that.
So anytime Jacob Volkman walks into the ring, in the cage, point.
Point
gone. You have to work extra hard. This is your style. And we're handicapping you. So
okay.
You have to work extra hard to be dominant. Do you have anything?
Well, I wanted to know, do you have an idea for striking?
Well, we don't have too many guys that actually want to strike. That don't just like retreat for takedowns.
Right.
That that stay on their feet and then just don't strike.
Yeah.
The Caleb Starnes one is obviously the classic example, but that referee should have warned them again, warned him again, and then DQ'd him.
Oh, straight to DQ, not even because. Well, I guess so, because if you were to take a point, I guess when you're running the whole time, what's he going to go like? Oh my God, you took a point away from me. Clearly, I don't care about this fight.
Yeah.
You know? So
it was embarrassment that fight went to decision.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, that fight was a long time ago. I can't remember how long the running lasted, but that had to be deeply aggravating. Like, almost like ripping a muscle off the bone for Dana White, like slowly tearing a muscle off the bone.
You could use the top of his head to boil an egg.
Just watching that, I mean, at that point in my fandom, I hadn't even thought about it from that angle. When I was watching that fight, I was just like, wow, I'm probably never going to see something like this again. And now I'm thinking, wow, Dana White, the boss, must have been pissed. For me, to, I guess, help MMA, I'm a proponent of the idea that Strikeforce should have been kept around, if not for ratings competition.
As a D-League.
Yeah, that's what I think it should have been kept around for, because you're letting guys like Fitch go, and I feel like we bring up Fitch every 5 seconds, which I'm not against, but
I'm going to bring Fitch up again later in the show, so I'm glad you did it first.
But you're letting guys like Fitch go to less than D-League, like World Series of Fighting, which can become a contender if they continue to pick up fighters like that. You also have competition with Bellator, which is awesome, but Bellator's in their baby stages. They could have kept Strikeforce, which was already developed, which already had a fan following, and was known for putting on fights that were had obvious outcomes. Keep that alive. Let that be the UFC's outlet of, we're going to put on just a show. We're going to put on a knockout card, and we'll put it on Strikeforce, and we'll have the best in the world fight the best in the world in the UFC.
I see what your point is, but I don't agree with you.
Okay.
Because in a way, the UFC already has a couple quote-unquote minor leagues. Tough, the Ultimate Fighter, that's minor league.
That's minor league, though.
I mean...
That's Little League.
You telling me Mike Ritchie couldn't have been a Strikeforce fighter? The other thing is that with the FX cards and the extensive prelims across all the shows, that's another minor league. From a business standpoint, I think marketing Strikeforce, keeping dual staff, maybe even having some contractual obligations with the use of the name with Showtime and everything like that. Now, whether or not it's Strikeforce or if it's just another event like the UFC New Guns, that's what they call their secondary promotion, I don't know. But you could never send a guy like Fitch to that, because that would be more embarrassing than cutting him.
Okay, I get what you're saying. You don't think, hey, maybe instead of, take a fight off, like what they do now, take 2 or 3 fights in some D-League and then come back to us and we'll take you back. You don't think they could just keep him in-house and maybe not pay him UFC money to get their 2 fights while they're still under contract with Zuffa? I mean, that could be abused, though. There are a lot of ways that the UFC or Zuffa could abuse that by saying, you know what, John Fitch makes too much money, we're going to send him down to Strikeforce anyway, just to pay him half or whatever.
Yeah, or like they don't have a good fight for somebody like a Martin Kampmann or a Jake Allenberger, so they send them down to the D card for one fight to scrimp on the pay, and then bring them back when they've got a good fight for them. Yeah,
there are a lot of ways around. I mean, hadn't really thought it out that much. I guess the business side is really what would affect keeping a Strikeforce around for minor league reasons. So,
I think Bellator and World Series of Fighting and all the other Japanese ones are still the minor leagues.
Yeah, I mean, there's no denying that.
John Fitch, who we bring up every episode, he's like a fastballer that's lost his control, and so just like the Yankees send him back down to the
Yeah, the farm organization, but they still...
Waxahachie Barons, and he learns, gets a couple innings in down there against minor leaguers, and then, 4 or 5 fights, they'll bring him back.
But they're still contractually obligated to the Yankees on the Ouachita, whatever. You know what I mean? I know you totally just made that up, but they're still in the Yankees farm system.
Waxahachie is a place in Texas.
Oh, I can stay there.
Known for its Renaissance Fair. It's like a theme park, but it's like Medieval Times, the theme park.
That's 2 shows in a row. Medieval Times has made itself known in our show.
And if there were a head winch at Medieval Times or at Scarborough Fair in Waxahachie, Texas, it should be Kim Winslow. With her king, Sean McCorkle. There, we've covered everything. Tie cup, leg reach, we're done.
We've got them all.
Yes, we do. You had something that you want to talk about. You had a topic for the show.
I did, but we're saving that for the end of the show.
We're in the guts of the show now, Mitch.
Okay. I didn't realize
I'll talk about something. I want to talk about something that has become more of a topic in the last 5 years or so, and that's bullying and how it relates to MMA.
Okay.
There have been several guys like Jason Mayhem Miller, Dustin Haslett, other folks that have gotten into MMA as a result of bullying. What role do you think the UFC as an organization should play in sort of stemming the anti-bullying epidemic, I guess? Maybe the reason it's an epidemic now is because people are talking about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People were being bullied ever since I can remember. Granted, despite me being 1, poor, 2, little, and 3, completely unathletic, I was never bullied. Surprise, surprise. My brother was, but I never was. Were you bullied?
No, I had 2 older brothers who made sure I wasn't. They were allowed to bully me.
You, right?
Yeah, they were allowed to bully me.
Yeah, my brother beat the shit out of me. In fact, he was kind of a weird kid, and so his beatings weren't like fists. It was like rope burn and biting me.
So torture. Torture.
Yeah, basically, yeah. He would actually tie me down. This is not a lie. He would tie me down in a wooded area with a rope and then leave and see if I could escape.
That is not something you should put on the internet. That is crazy.
That's what he would do.
But that's got to be fun, though, I guess, now that you're older, thinking about it. That was fun.
Not for the hour I was sitting there crying until I started to try to actually get out. Mitchell, I was in 3rd grade.
3rd grade?
Yes. And then there was this other time that he put matches out on me, held me down and put matches out on me. So, yeah, my brother did bully me, but no one at school did. Oh, shit. At home, my brother's putting matches out on me. What the hell is this kid with, that's talking shit about me being short? What's he going to do? I've already had everything worse. I was also I had a big mouth, and I was more afraid of looking like a punk than getting beat up. So I was never bullied. But do you think that that MMA, specifically the UFC, which has the name, the reach, the visibility, should try to start something more widespread in teaching the honor of martial arts as well as the confidence of learning to defend yourself on a national basis? Do you think that's something they should try to champion?
I think with like you mentioned, a number of fighters already in the sport for that reason, I don't think they would hurt to head in that direction. It would definitely be a great idea to get younger kids in, and I guess on a marketing strategy, kind of like the I guess the military used to employ, try to catch or smoking. I know definitely tried to employ catch kids while they're young to get them in to your product. So that would kind of, I guess, be building their future fighters in a way. So
I want to be the first kid on my block that armbars a bully.
No, and I mean, and then makes his way up to the UFC, if that's still the big show, when they're older.
Yeah, the UFC's been pretty strong and vocal about its support of the armed forces. Maybe it's time to take a step back from the armed forces and then focus on the bullying stuff.
Yeah, I can't see a bad reason for that. In between hey, guess what? Some of our fighters are Marines also.
What? That's never happened.
Yeah, throw in a bullying thing and actually have a UFC fighter behind it. I don't know. I think that would be fantastic. That's a great idea.
And Jason Mayhem Miller should not be a part of it. That
No.
guy, he is certifiably he may not be insane, but he's weird.
No, if he's not insane, he's on his way to it.
I was driving some stuff over to my wife's surgery today. She's not in surgery. She owns a surgery. That's what they call it, like a dental clinic. And I saw this woman, big fat woman with one of those crazy women dresses where it's just like a bed sheet that's got a seam on it, and she just wears it with her arms out.
A muumuu?
Whatever it's called, it's like a sundress, but that she's not wearing anything under it, and she's got flaps and rolls, crazy hair, and she's just walking there along the street, stopping traffic because she's walking through the intersection, talking to herself. Huh. And I thought, man, if I was a good Samaritan and I had it offhand, I would just go over and put like an old cell phone in her hand, because then she stopped being crazy.
Right, that would be very helpful to her.
Yeah, she just looks like she's talking on the phone to all of her little friends, and we don't know they're imaginary.
I'm not sure how this relates.
That makes me think of Mayhem Miller.
Oh. Yeah, I wish, I wish somebody could just talk some sense into that guy. Maybe he'll be crazy enough after the GSP fight, after GSP dismantles Nick Diaz, which, surprise, surprise, that's our next show, and that's what we'll probably be talking about. If Mayhem just goes, hey, you just got your ass kicked, why don't you finally fight me? And
Diaz would kill.
I know.
He would legally homicide Mayhem.
No, at the time when they were having their feud, Mayhem didn't look as bad as he looked in his last couple fights. Like, he was still a serious fighter. But after his last couple of fights, he would just get destroyed.
It's really hard for me to think of another performance that was as bad as a UFC fight as Mayhem versus CB Dollaway. I cannot imagine another fighter having a worse performance than that. Short of like Martin Kampman getting knocked out in 7 seconds, but even then you're like, well, it's not really a bad performance. He just got knocked out.
Right.
Chin had a horrible night.
And you know what Martin Kampman's capable of.
Right, but Mayhem had like several minutes to convince us that he'd actually trained in any form of martial arts, and it really didn't, or cardio, and it didn't look like he'd done either.
No.
All right, so I have one more thing to talk about, and then we can talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Oh, okay.
John Fitch broke his silence on the MMA Hour, the Ariel Helwani show, and he said about a lot of the... Ariel Helwani said something like, does it make you angry that all this support and fandom that came out after you got cut was silent while you were on this winning streak? In fact, that's, all the haters were like, John Fitch is boring, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And Fitch said most of his real fans aren't on the internet. The people that are on the internet are basically the losers that have nothing else to do with their day and spend all day long typing comments. Oh. And it made me think of something, because that's that's kind of in a nutshell how we met.
I had not heard that.
Think, yeah, and he said, so the people that spend all day long on the message boards are implied to be losers, nerds, and haters. But it makes me think: has the UFC gotten popular enough that the fighters don't realize that the hardcore fans are exactly that demographic? It's not fighters, wannabe fighters, or amateur fighters, or tough guys supporting the UFC. It's regular people that are on the internet, which is what everyone does in 2013, talking about fighters and then spending their money on it.
Right, and driving their career.
Yeah, the only reason there is a World Series of Fighting is because there is overflow business from the UFC. Mm-hmm. And that's why John Fitch was able to get money from the UFC. It's because of these uber fans. Guys like Ray, our buddy from MMA Share, the little weird Mexican troll. He shows up, he's got his little Affliction t-shirt with his eyeliner, and he goes to every show, stands in line to do the double fist pose with Wanderlei, and buys all the merchandise. Losers like that,
they'll go anywhere.
Are the guys driving the business, and they're also the ones spending all day long having fanboy fights over whether Fedor is better than Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, I cannot agree at all with John Fitch's. I hadn't heard that he said that, but that is absolutely upsetting. Well, how do you feel being like a John Fitch lover?
I think there's a huge disconnect. I think for instance, other the big mainstream sports. Maybe I don't know about European football, soccer, because those guys, I don't follow them on an out of game basis. I don't know what Cristiano Ronaldo thinks about his fans or anything, but I do know that the NFL, for instance, has embraced the quote unquote nerd prime fan. You'll see guys like Peyton Manning do commercials where he's like lobbying for him to be the first pick in your fantasy draft.
Mm-hmm.
You remember 6'4", 245, rocket arm, and so he's embracing the primary fan. And I think the NFL's gotten smart enough, and the players are now aware enough of the reality of it that they don't say, I'm not here to cater to all those white homeboy wannabe pussies. I'm keeping it real. No, they're like, I want to sell shit and make money. So I'm going to show up and be friends with all these, kids with the double glasses and I'm wearing my. I mean, they understand the reality of the economics. I don't think fighters do yet. You know what I mean? I think if Fitch were to take a real look at his fans, his hardcore fans, or Chuck Liddell, or anybody, Tito. Does Tito have fans? Bad example. And then they were looking at him, they're like, wow, these guys are all overcompensating little pussies that are. I mean, there are very few people that are actually like, I fought amateur no-gi tournaments and I'm a huge MMA fan.
Yeah.
It's not the majority.
No, we're not. I mean, ourselves, we're not like training every day. We don't.
Well,
we're
ninjutsu,
fans.
I can't talk about. That's the first rule of ninjutsu club.
Right.
You can't talk about ninjutsu club.
But everything else, I don't know. That just disturbs me. I guess the fighters have some growing to do in that department, just as fans have some growing to do as far as maturity goes and learning the sport. But it can be difficult to see, we are what keep you in business. And I do think that there are people in the game, and you mentioned Tito. Of all people, Tito knows better than anybody else how important the fans are and how important they were to him, to his career, and the success that it had. So for John Fitch to come out and say that anybody that's on the internet is just a nerd and has nothing better to do with their life, that you're not doing yourself any favors when your old boss, Dana White, knows how important the fans are. Dana White puts on fights for no reason other than because that's what we want to see, and whether that's good or bad for his career is neither here, or for the UFC is neither here nor there. But why would you say something like that about the fans when that guy's like, I'm probably not going to take you back, but maybe, That just totally kills your chance.
This sparked a thought that is going to lead us off topic. It seems like with the influx of the fans. You and I have both been fans for a long time. I'm substantially older than you, so I've obviously been a fan since the earlier days. Mm-hmm. But Nick Diaz has personally brought in a crop of fans. And the Ultimate Fighter Season 1 finale brought in a new crop of fans. You can just trace the lineage. Rather, if you're on any sort of MMA message board, as soon as something substantial happens in MMA, like for instance, there'll probably be a whole new crop of fans coming in after the GSP Diaz fight. A whole new crop, and then you'll have to have the same conversations with this whole new crop of fans for the next 2 years.
Yep.
Who's Fedor, and why is he the greatest heavyweight to ever live? Oh, he's a fat, stupid Russian. No. He really is the greatest heavyweight that's ever lived. Or Brock Lesnar is a complete joke. No, Brock Lesnar was forced into water way over his head and could have been something special had he been nurtured from a younger. You have to have all those same conversations over again. And I think as a result of this influx of fans, the UFC is less like a sport now, and it's sort of more like WWE, where it's all about exciting finishes and not about winning. And it's also about these weird sort of man soap operas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Dana White doesn't like John Fitch. Like, who gives a shit? You know what I mean? Why should this Why should this be something we talk about? Or Nick Diaz is representing the 209, where GSP is the white-collar fan. I'm like, who gives a shit? Shouldn't it be about the fights? Why do we care about all this bullshit drama storylines behind, like, we're being worked with the kayfabe wrestling shit?
Yeah, that's really what the UFC is going towards, just a soap opera. And, people have mentioned, well, he met with Vince McMahon, and he looks up to Vince McMahon, and so he's getting his ideas from Vince McMahon. And, yeah, Vince McMahon took that company and turned it into something that no one ever thought it would be, as popular as everybody watches wrestling. I know you used to.
I was back in the days of Junkyard Dog, Big John Studd, Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, I was Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. That was the era for me. So he is taking a page out of that, but the same thing with wrestling. You grow up at some point, and you grow out of that. Would it work continually with MMA, as we do like the soap opera in its own way, but it's also real, actual fights? Will we grow out of that?
I want to get to the point in this sport where winning is enough.
That's why I like Bellator's tournament system. Winning is enough, but they're also going towards the pre-fight interviews where this guy said that and blah 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 blah. Like
you're an NFL fan, right?
Yeah.
What's the greatest defense ever in the NFL historically?
Bears? You mean type of defense?
The 1985 Bears.
Yeah.
Right.
85 Bears.
Right, and the Ravens 2000 and just this last year are arguably in that top 5 or top 10. Now, take those teams. Now, obviously, the Bears with sweetness, Walter Payton, and with McMahon and all, they scored a lot of points. But there were games that they played, and the Baltimore Ravens of 2000 lived this way, where they ground out wins of like 9-15. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They scored 15.
The 2000 Ravens were just ridiculous.
And the thing was that defense historically allowed the fewest points. They didn't have the Bears' offense, so they didn't score a lot either. But they did enough so that they were +1 on the point column at least most of the time. NFL fans don't yell out, "Man, those fucking Ravens are ruining this fucking sport. I fucking hate them. They're pussies. All they're trying to do is keep the other team from having their way on offense, and this fucking sucks." No, they say that is a great team. And
right.
Watching defense for an educated NFL fan, which is what the majority of NFL fans are, is enjoyable. But when it comes to MMA, someone like Fitch, or someone like let's forget about Fitch. Someone like GSP, for some people, is not enough, and it's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
I think that those are two different concepts, in my opinion. GSP does not have a defense. You're talking about defense. Defense is a way to neutralize the other team's game and capitalize on what they're doing. GSP doesn't have that. He has an offense that is unstoppable, but it's unbelievably boring. It's kind of like if you want to equate it to...
No, why is it boring?
Well, if you equate it to football, sticking with that analogy, the New England Patriots have been ridiculously successful with what I think is a boring offense, even though they've got a fantastic quarterback.
They're a pass-happy
Yeah,
offense.
But they have this boring screen to Wes Welker and let him get 8 yards. And it's 3rd and 6. We'll screen to Wes Welker or throw Wes Welker out here. Even though we know it's coming, we cannot stop it, and they're going to just continually move the sticks. To me, you see it and you're like, stop it. Why can't you stop? Why can't the defense stop that? Well, that's what GSP is like. I see it coming. I know it's coming. I know the fighter knows it's coming, but nobody can stop it. So to me, that's the boring part of GSP. I don't think it's the fact that I don't think GSP needs to draw up like a bad blood dark side type thing. If that's what you're getting, I don't think that's necessary. But
he's said that a few times. He's actually said that quite a few times. Like when he was hosting, when he was a coach of Tough, Cody McKenzie was kind of squaring off with Josh Koscheck, and in an interview, GSP said, "I don't need Cody McKenzie to do that." And he started kind of relating some of the stuff of his childhood. He goes like, "Listen, I come across as a professional, but I'm not afraid of bullies. I've had my own experiences." And he said, "I have a dark side if I need it." And of course, now that he says it with this Diaz fight, the UFC grabs it to make that their storyline. Like like they're gonna wheel him out in a coffin. He's gonna come out dressed as the Undertaker now.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
That would be awesome, actually. Forget everything I just said. Make it happen.
Speaking, I guess, of the Undertaker, just to take us in a little bit different direction, Herschel Walker wants another fight. Speaking of super
Yeah.
old guys like The Undertaker. He wants it to be in the UFC. Could you imagine him fighting in the UFC octagon?
Let me just take a look at good old Herschel Walker. See exactly how old he is. But he looked good when he fought the first time. I thought it was going to be a gimmick, but his leg kicks were really good.
It was surprising. I mean, he's still super in shape. I think he's 50. I want to say he's 50.
51.
51.
That is insane. That is insane. I wonder if it's considered a PED to take black guys' blood and inject it in white people. Is that a PED?
I don't know.
Whatever genetics that guy has, I want them.
Apparently, just sit-ups, push-ups, and a little bit of schizophrenia, and that'll get you that body. So
it's like he's doing sit-ups and the voices in his head are like messing with him. So he's like, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the voice is like 3, 3, 3. Wait a second, I lost count. Okay, I'll start over. 1, 2. That's why he does so many.
he says he's any type of weight training in his life. What?
Well, when I was in junior high, that's when he was like big. He was the man, and there were pictures of him in a Sports Illustrated article, and he said he would do something like 500 sit-ups a day and 400 pull-ups. That's it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I don't know if I'd do that in a year.
If 500, no, I know I won't.
But yeah.
But no weight training in your entire life, no weights, no lifting them. That guy's
crazy. Well, I shouldn't say that. That's mean. That's not what I meant. I know he's got a mental illness. Is it schizophrenia? It's something.
Personality disorder.
But that guy is an animal. Let's put it that way. He is freakishly athletic.
Okay with him fighting in the.
What's that?
You would be okay with him getting another fight in the UFC?
Sure. I mean, as long as he passes all his physicals. Don't give him a contender. Why not? He fought before in Strikeforce. He's earned it.
I thought he did okay in Strikeforce. I mean, he surpassed my.
Oh, he fought twice in Strikeforce. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I think he looked even better the second time.
Yeah, I missed that one. He TKO'd Scott Carson.
He looked good. He looked good, but I don't know. I can't see. I forget what weight class he fights at. I want to say middleweight or light heavy, but I just can't see him taking down anybody, even with a remotely a name that you've heard of, and taking them out.
Give him, if he's going to fight at middleweight or light heavy or somewhere in between there, give him Brian Stan.
Give him Brian Stan. What?
It'd be a great fight. Brian Stan is a fight maker, man.
Oh my goodness! If you're going to go that route, give him Wanderlei. Well, why not? While we're at it.
You know what? They're both really old.
They are.
Jeez, it'd be sad to see Herschel Walker axe murdered. And they're both crazy. I think Wanderlei is legitimately crazy. I think, so what aspect of the sport, back to our conversation, what aspect of the sport do you think you're most knowledgeable in, that you feel like you can get more of the nuances, you know what I mean? Like Jack Slack, striking guy, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. What do you feel like you appreciate the most, short of, don't say, well, I like seeing guys get their, like Stefan Struve get punched in the mouth and blood fly all over the camera. That's not nuances.
No, I think, I'm not trained in any martial art. I think I can pick up from watching it, what I've learned. I've picked up a lot of jiu-jitsu, the names of jiu-jitsu techniques, I guess. So I can really see where someone's going to pass or something's going to happen on the ground. I mean, not as well as anyone who's probably trained it, but without ever having done it, I feel.
But say like when trying to pick someone that you haven't. I'll just say Ronnie Yaya. When Ronnie Yaya was flipping from half guard to side mount, and he used his little toe to slip over, or Don Young Kim was completely jumping out of guard into side mount without even going to half. Were you like in your head giving the ooh?
Yeah.
Golf clap.
Yeah, because even if you're watching it with somebody who doesn't know, you're sitting there going, "Oh, that was good," and then they're sitting there going, "I have no idea what the hell you're talking about."
Yeah.
So, even though he didn't knock him out and blood didn't fly anywhere, yeah, that was awesome.
So what I'm saying is that you can have that sort of appreciation for like a Josh Koscheck takedown.
I have an appreciation for the ability to take somebody down. There's nothing wrong with.
But the actual execution of it, like you'll see people, and you'll be like Marcus Levessier, you're like, ugh, he's just holding on to a single, like that's ugly, and it's you're from a stylistic standpoint, you're like being the Eastern European judge and giving him like a 6.4. But then when you see Koscheck or GSP blast into a single or double, you're like, holy shit!
Yeah, GSP's on another level with that.
Yeah, and so from that standpoint, that's awesome. Now, I understand where my analogy, and I willingly concede, is when they're on top and they don't do anything.
Yep, that's where it gets boring.
And that's where I think those points need to be added into just standing them up. But moving around from advancing your position into a more dominant position, i.e. in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu lexicon, and then doing ground strikes and going for subs, that should all be appreciated. But the wrestling part of that, let me state my point a little bit more concisely. Wrestling should be an avenue to determine where the fight where the fight ends, but not winning the fight. Takedowns should not be the determining factor for who wins the fight.
I 100% agree. Like we were talking about recently, just because you get the guy down, it's like the stats show you didn't do any significant damage with that. Throwing 5 significant strikes in a round where you took the guy down twice does not mean you won the round.
If we get into a huge war with Russia, and we force Russia to fight a naval battle, and as soon as their fleet gets out there, they've got all these ground forces, and they get out in the water with us, we raise up our hands and say, yay, we won, we forced you to be in the water. And then Russia's like, well, we didn't fire any shots.
Right.
What the fuck are you talking about? That's what Jacob Volkman's entire fight is.
That's what Yushin Okami does to people. So
people really help Yushin Okami by just going balls out on him and then letting him just get takedowns. Hector did it. Alan Belcher did it.
Hector's third round, though, that was awesome. Had he done that the first
2 minutes of that round. The first 2 minutes of that round were awesome. Then him going into guard,
jumping into guard was just dumb.
I felt like the Predator was pulling the spine out of my back to claim my skull as a trophy. That's how horrible it felt to watch that.
Well, I think we should discuss the most important part of any of our shows, and that is the greatest of all time.
Oh, last time we talked about LARPing.
LARPing.
And if you were to LARP, you'd do it at Scarborough 4 with Kim Winslow.
To this, I think for the rest of these cage chats, LARPing will be my best. My favorite. That is my favorite idea. But this cage chat, I have the idea for it. You've had the ideas before. So, greatest of all time, again, for those listening, we're looking for who we think would be, out of Fedor, Anderson Silva, and GSP, the greatest of all time at a particular activity other than fighting. So, today's activity that I present to you to choose the best of those three is competitive eating. Who would be the best competitive eater?
Before I answer this question, I know everyone's got their obvious choice. What are they eating? Are we talking like 4th of July hot dog competition over there on Coney Island?
Yes, we are talking about the Nathan's hot dog event, made famous by Kobayashi.
Kobayashi. I am going to say, if there was an American on there, I would choose them, because we know how to eat. Fattest nation in the world, baby. I will not say Fedor. And I know that's the obvious choice because he is the Russian Santa Claus. And, of course, he liked to eat ice cream in nice weather. I'm going to go with Anderson Silva, because Anderson Silva, when you watch him, when he's not in fight shape, he's got a little pooch. And you'll notice that it's not the fat guys that win those shows. Because you have to have a certain amount of stomach elasticity in your stomach itself and your stomach muscles, your abs. And so from off weight to fight weight, Anderson Silva has shown to me a lot of elasticity through the midsection. I believe with his Muhammad Ali addiction to greatness, he could force down 75 hot dogs and blow away Fedor's 74. But if we're going to do this on a pound for pound, That's like the equivalent of Silva eating like 23. And of course, GSP, he's married to his career. He would probably tap early to save his beautiful abs and then go have sex with the Nathan's hot dog models.
I think this will be the first time in this topic that we'll agree. I would say Anderson Silva. And I would say Anderson Silva almost word for what you said. Just because I think that his level of greatness at a particular activity allows him to just eat as much as he wants. And he would do it. I think he would dance while he was doing it, further pissing off Dana White. Because Dana White
do a little hip jiggle to get the sausage meat into lower parts of his intestine so that he can continue to fill his stomach. I'm going to say that Anderson Silva, in this regard, is not the goat. He's the horse. Because as we know, horses will actually eat until they die, if allowed to. And that's what Anderson would do for victory.
He would for victory. But you said last episode that we could pick, it doesn't have to be one of those three. It could be a pound-for-pound guy. And I'd like to keep it to those three. But if we were going to delve out of those three and look on the pound-for-pound list as the best competitive eater, my pick would not be those top three. It would be John Bones Jones. And
why is that?
John Bones Jones has what no other MMA fighter has, and he calls on it frequently. He calls on it almost as much as Tito Ortiz talks about his surgeries and his injuries. And
can I take a guess?
Take a guess.
His long reach allows him to reach the hot dogs at the other end of the table.
That would not be it. That would not be it. It would be his warrior spirit. He would call on his warrior spirit to allow him to warrior through the Nathan's hot dogs. Because your warrior spirit can get you through the Nathan's hot dogs, and they can allow you to beat up all of your opponents, but they will not allow you to take a fight on short notice. That's not having warrior spirit.
The other thing going in Jones's favor is he's young and he's got freakish metabolism.
Right. He wouldn't even know it, and he'd eat 30. He wouldn't even know.
He would be sitting on the shitter as he eats because his body would actually process them that fast. By his time he's on his 10th hot dog, he's already shitting out his first.
So you agree there that John Bones Jones would be on the pound-for-pound list, the pound-for-pound best competitive eater?
No. Sakuraba.
Sakuraba wins every time.
Sakuraba wins. I'm sorry. Kobayashi is the man. On a pound-for-pound basis, Kobayashi's untouchable. Sakuraba. He would actually store hot dog particles in the cauliflower in his ear.
The ear that he had ripped off.
And then stop mid-fight. Oh, look, my ear. That's gangster right there.
I know.
That's gangster.
He
should be in the 17th Die Hard movie.
He should, like Bruce Willis, will just morph into Sakuraba. And
if he keeps going the way he will, they'll look alike.
Then all the feats that Bruce Willis pulls off in those movies will then be understandable because it's like, oh, it's Sakuraba. Yeah, he is capable of all of that.
Yeah, that guy's insane. All right. I'm trying to think of how to recap this episode other than saying it was a huge ramble. I'm kind of coming up for a loss.
Yeah, we didn't stick to any topics. We didn't have we just let the conversation flow.
Yeah, we flowed all over the place. I love Kim Winslow, yodeling. That's for YouTube. I did sing that damn song. That's my voice. Give us our royalties. Royalties? What are those?
I see none of those.
We are recording this show on a Tuesday in America, a Wednesday in Australia, right as The Ultimate Fighter is going on. We will come back tomorrow to do our GSP versus Diaz show. Hopefully we can get Tom on there. He's in England, and you can imagine getting a guy in Australia, a guy in Delaware, and a guy in London, England. He's actually in Southampton. All on the same show. It's a little bit of a hassle, particularly since it cuts into Mitchell's pornography filming schedule. Which
is very tight. It's tight, okay?
If you were... whoa. If you were a porno actor, what would your name be?
Haven't we been over this?
I don't think so.
I feel like we've had the same, or maybe it was if we were a wrestler. I'm going to go the George Costanza route. Buck naked.
I'm going to go with Bobby Salami.
Well, that's straight and to the point.
It is. That's just like my wiener. Straight and ends in a point. That's the show, ladies and gentlemen. I am Lucky. That is Stucky. Mitchell?
I bid you adieu on your penis point.
Thank you. I like to have dew on my penis. It's a lovely penis. All right. See you guys next time. Bye.